Welcome to the training module on bullying prevention and response. This is a procedural overview for school-based leadership. This training will cover incident reporting, investigation process, parent notification, and follow-up and action planning. In the Bullying Prevention and Response Handbook, you will find information on the Florida Anti-Bullying Law, Jeffrey Johnston Stand Up for All Students Act, the Hope Scholarship Program, and the Local School Board Policy 5517.01. It's very important that you are well versed in these laws. In the Bullying Prevention and Response Handbook, you will also find this compliance checklist. Please make sure you print this checklist and use it as you review all procedures required by state law and local policy with your team. Now we will move on to the bullying reporting and investigation process. This process is now completely done in Focus. The goal of this was to move the process to Focus, but also to streamline it into one process from the report to how we notify the parents or guardians of the investigation outcome. The bullying and harassment report forms are now easily accessible in the front office and online in Focus. If you look at that first picture, you can see that the staff portal, it is accessed underneath the Forms tab up in your menu bar. And for students, that second picture, it is off on their left-hand side under their Forms section. Parents is located in the same place in their parent portal as the students. Drop boxes for confidential submission of reports are still available. They should be located in the health room, the school counselor office, media center, and the main office. Forms submitted through Focus can also be anonymous. So something that's really important to know is that all reports that are submitted via a Dropbox or verbally must be entered into Focus within 24 hours of the receipt. And principals, you have the option of choosing who is going to do that. The important thing is that it is entered because that is what is going to trigger the rest of this process. Remember, you need to have your posters posted in various places around the campus. This will ensure that everyone knows how they can report bullying. Also, if you need new posters at any time, you can reach out to the print shop and place an order. Now we will go through the steps in this bullying process. The first step is the submission of a bullying or harassment report. Remember, all reports must now go through Focus. This doesn't mean the individual is required to submit through Focus. However, in the student and teacher training, Focus will be encouraged. This means when a verbal or paper report is submitted, whoever you designate must submit the information in Focus using the bullying and or harassment reporting form within 24 hours of receiving that form. That means any of your drop boxes must be checked daily. Once that report is submitted in Focus, the school principal will receive an email and a Focus alert. The principal then will choose who they would like to assign that to, which one of their assistant principals, if they're at the secondary level. Elementary, you can decide if you are going to conduct the investigation or if you're going to send it on to your assistant principal. Once that decision is made, you will forward that email using a read receipt so that you have record of it and you know they've received it. You will forward that email to that one assistant principal, whoever you are assigning the investigation to. When the assistant principal or yourself, if you choose to do the investigation yourself, opens up the report based on permission levels, you will have access to the entire process. So everything else is going to open up for you to view. You will have the parent notification letters, Hope Scholarship letters, and the bullying and harassment final report. It's all going to be connected, as well as an outcome letter for parents. From there, the assigned administrator will complete the investigation. The investigator must click the Save Draft button after making any changes. Before we move any further into the process, let's take a look at the buttons that are a part of this form. Like I just mentioned, as the investigator is conducting the investigation, they must make sure to click the Saved button when changes are made. This keeps the form in the pending state, allowing the investigator to come back and add information until the process is complete. The other button that the investigator will use is the Print button. This will be used to print the parent notification letters, Hope Scholarship form, and the outcome letters. These are the only two buttons the investigator should be using. Because the report is submitted by someone who is reporting bullying, typically a parent or a student, you will not use the Back to Originator button, as this would send the report back to that individual. Now, let's talk about the Deny and Approve button. These two buttons have huge implications as they both lock the form. Once the form is locked, it cannot be reopened. Therefore, only the principal should use the Deny and Approve buttons. The Deny button should only be used in very rare circumstances. For example, if a report is submitted blank, or if the report clearly has nothing to do with bullying. The Approve button is used by the principal after a thorough review of the entire process to ensure everything has been completed. We will talk about the approval process in more detail later in this training. Now let's go back to where we left off with the forms. We will take a closer look at each form in this process, beginning with the Bullying and Harassment Reporting Form. This form is submitted by the individual making the report. Let's assume this report is submitted by a parent. Each page in this process is available based on permissions. Therefore, the parent can only see the first 2 pages, which are the 2 pages of the reporting form. When an administrator opens the forms, they will see the entire packet. After the report, which is page 1 and 2, you will find 2 parent notification letters. One letter for the potential victim or victims, and one for the potential offender or offenders. The parent notification letters must be sent home within 24 hours of the receipt of a report. Towards the bottom of each letter, you will notice a space to put the student ID numbers. Administrators must put the student ID numbers for all students receiving each letter, meaning any student whose family or parent is receiving the victim letter, their ID numbers go on that letter, and the potential offender letter, those students' ID numbers go on there. Student ID numbers will not appear on the printed letters. However, putting the student ID number here populates the receipt of the letter directly into student documentation. And the privacy of these letters are based on permissions again, so only an administrator will be able to click on that link in student documentation and actually open up this whole process to see which letter the student actually received. The letters will have to be printed from here and mailed home to the parents. Next, you will find the Hope Scholarship Notification Form. Administrators must also print this form and mail it. We recommend that you go ahead and mail this with the notification letter to any parent who is receiving the notice of potential victim. So whether a case is deemed substantiated or unsubstantiated, the victim must receive the Hope Scholarship form. Before we move on to the next form, where you will document the investigation process, let's review the definition of bullying. Bullying is described as systematically and chronically inflicting physical harm or psychological distress on one or more students or employees that is severe or pervasive enough to create an intimidating, hostile, or offensive environment, or unreasonably interfere with the individual's school performance or participation. Remember, bullying also includes incidences of cyberbullying. Assessor bullying must include 3 elements. It must be intentional, repeated, and involve a power imbalance. An example would be a student uses a cell phone to take a picture of another student using the bathroom at school and shares it electronically. Or a student repeatedly teases another student in a mean way, calling him or her inappropriate names, making fun of his or her appearance, or the way he or she talks, dresses, or acts. A few important things to note about the investigation process are that investigations must be conducted by a trained administrator. Conduct an initial gathering of knowledge related to the report. Conduct individual private interviews with the alleged offender or offenders, victim or victims, and witnesses. And make sure that you get event statements. These should be done in writing so that they can be attached to the whole process. I want to stress one more time just how important it is that these interviews are private. You want to protect your victim in this entire process. And it's already been noted before, but we're just going to say it again, that all parents involved and guardians must receive a notification letter. Let's review a few general considerations that should be taken during the interview process when you are interviewing a student. You want to take some time to establish rapport, and you want to make sure that you're asking open-ended questions. You don't want to encourage any type of answer by asking leading questions. So make sure you're asking open-ended questions and then waiting for their response. Allow enough wait time for them to answer, even if that includes some uncomfortable silence. Use a multiple approach to gathering information. Document what is observed as compared to what you believe has happened. Maintain awareness of known risk factors for adverse outcomes, and maintain appropriate boundaries, especially with the confidentiality of our students. Believe it or not, the next 2 pages are the only pages you use to document the investigation. They are titled Bullying and/or Harassment Final Report. I know it feels like a lot of pages, but besides these 2 pages, the rest are letters and the Hope Scholarship. For the investigator, this is where you will spend most of your time. You will document all the information gathered during the investigation here. You must also upload all additional documents that are collected during the investigation at the bottom of this entire form in the upload field. An example of what must be uploaded would be any witness or event statements that are collected. We have created outcome letters. You will see we have 4 different outcome letters, and these letters all have the title of what type of letter they are. So it's very important that you pay close attention to what the title is so that you are printing the appropriate letter. The title does not print on the letter. It is just simply there for your reference. So there is a letter for the victim and offender if it is a substantiated case of bullying, and there are letters for unsubstantiated case of bullying, one for victim, one for offenders. Remember though, if a parent at any point requests the final report, then you are to provide a redacted copy of that. When the investigation is complete and a determination of substantiated or unsubstantiated is made, a discipline incident report or assessor must be submitted. The steps you follow depend on the outcome of the investigation. So no matter what, you're going to be submitting a discipline incident report. For substantiated incidents, you will start by creating a discipline referral for the offender in focus. So you'll add the referral. When you choose bullying as the behavior, the process will automatically lead you to complete a discipline incident report. So remember, if it's substantiated, you start with the discipline referral, which will automatically lead you to the assessor report. If it is unsubstantiated, you're going to go straight to the discipline incident report in focus. So you'll go to the discipline tab up at the top, and you'll click on Add a Discipline Incident Report. So that takes you straight to the assessor report, which will not link it to a specific individual since it was unsubstantiated. So either way, you have to complete the incident report. You either get to it from discipline referral or you go straight to the incident report. When you are applying consequences in the event of a substantiated event or a false report, make sure that you are applying consequences in accordance with the Student Code of Conduct. And if needed, notify law enforcement of any criminal charges pursued or credible threats. When submitting a discipline incident report in Cesar, remember one event equals one Cesar report. So if a substantiated event involves multiple offenders, you must link together when completing the Cesar event. So instead of clicking the add new, you will want to click link and you'll want to add each offender to the one event. So it's one event equals one Cesar. In cases of substantiated incidents, remember it is extremely important to develop and implement a plan to ensure the safety of the victim, and administrators must refer to the Tier 3 problem-solving teams. Parents should be notified of any plan that is put in place and also how this plan is going to be monitored and should receive updates. Okay, we have finally made it to the last step for the investigator. Once the entire process is complete, the investigator is going to reply to the original email that was sent from the principal, letting them know that the report is ready to be reviewed. And you'll want to send this email with a read receipt to ensure that the email is received. That way nothing will get lost. All right, principals, when you receive the email letting you know the investigation is complete, you need to open the forms in Focus and thoroughly review all the forms using the bullying approval checklist for administrators, and either request revisions or approve the form. You can open the form by using the link in the email or by logging into Focus, clicking on the Forms tab at the top and choosing the Bullying and Harassment Reporting Form. Then click on the Pending Approval tab and you should see the form waiting on you. Click the View button to open the form for review. The bullying checklist for administrators can be located in the Bullying Handbook or in the Canvas module with this training. This checklist will help ensure each bullying investigation is completed accurately and no critical information is missing. This checklist includes the items where mistakes are prone to happen. Some of the most common mistakes include remembering to note the outcome of either substantiated or unsubstantiated and adding the Cesar incident ID to this form. This is the only way to connect the discipline incident to the investigation forms. This also helps ensure the discipline incident has been submitted. The next one is probably the number one error we see, and that is forgetting to acknowledge that the Hope Scholarship was sent home to the victim or alleged victim. This includes substantiated and unsubstantiated cases. The next item that tends to be missed is remembering to add the student ID numbers for any student who fills out a witness or event statement and uploading a PDF of these statements and all other additional information to the file upload feature at the very bottom of the form. And finally, remembering to sign the final report. A final step has been added to the approval process to build in an additional safeguard to help ensure a form is not locked with missing information. We are going to go over this process from the point the investigator has completed the investigation. At this point, the investigator will click the Save Draft button and reply to the original email sent by the principal assigning this investigation to them as the investigator. This email will let the principal know the investigation is complete and ready for approval. Remember to send this email with a read receipt to make sure the principal receives the email. The principal does a thorough review of all forms using the checklist. Once it is determined the forms are complete, the principal will click the Approve button. Here's where a step has been added. The Student Services team will now do a final review and lock the form. Once this step is complete, the form cannot be unlocked, not even by our Technology Services Department. When the principal approves the form on their end, the designated individuals in Student Services will receive an email from Focus and an alert on their dashboard. Don't forget there is a timeline that must be followed when completing a bullying investigation. First of all, the parents of the potential victim or victims and potential offender or offenders must be notified verbally the same day a report is submitted and notified in writing within 24 hours. You will use the parent notification letters for that piece. From there, you have up to 10 days to complete the investigation, and by day 15, all parents must be notified in writing of the outcome using the appropriate outcome letter and the Hope Scholarship sent to the identified victim or victims. Again, this applies to both substantiated and unsubstantiated cases. Principals should run a focus report of the school's bullying data monthly to verify there are no outstanding reports of bullying that need to be addressed. Doing this monthly will help keep everything up to date and ensure nothing falls through the cracks. To run the focus report, go to the Reports tab in the top menu and click on the District Reports. Next, in the menu to the left, click on Student Services. You will then see a report titled School Bullying and Harassment Form. Click the Run button. On the next screen, you will need to make sure the date range is correct and then click the Run button again. After pulling your focus report, you will want to pull your discipline incident assessor data to ensure that it matches with the bullying data. So at the top of at the menu bar at the top again, but this time you're going to go to the Discipline tab and you're going to click on Discipline Incidents, and that will pull a report of all of your discipline incidents, and under the incident type you'll want to type BUL. This will sort out all of your bullying substantiated and unsubstantiated cases. And you're going to want to make sure that you have the same amount of assessors as you do reports. For example, if your bullying data shows 4 unsubstantiated bullying cases and 1 substantiated case, you should have 4 unsubstantiated bullying assessors and 1 substantiated bullying assessor. Make sure you utilize all of the resources that you have available to you. You have the Bullying Prevention and Response Model Procedural Guide in the Handbook Directory, and inside of that you have many help documents to help you with common issues, and also the Bullying Administrator Checklist is inside the handbook. If you have any questions, please reach out to the Department of Student Services. Thank you for your time and attention while completing this training. Have a great school year.